Gentleman from California.
Mr. Speaker, at this time I'd like to yield 3 minutes to the distinguished member from New York, the ranking member on Homeland Security, Mr. King.
Gentleman is recognized for 3 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I thank the gentleman for yielding. I want to commend Chairman Towns and Ranking Member Issa for bringing this bill to the floor. I want to thank Congresswoman Matsui for the tremendous work that she has done in leading the way on this legislation, and I'm proud to be here today as a co-sponsor of the legislation. Mr. Speaker, I listened carefully to my good friend from New York, Mr. Engel, and he really articulated the way all New Yorkers feel. September 11th will be a day that none of us will ever forget. It's a day that will just be embedded into us because of the terrible horror, the tragedy, all that occurred on that day, but also because of the tremendous valor, the tremendous dedication, and the tremendous sense of courage, which is also demonstrated on that day. Now, I lost probably 150 constituents, friends, neighbors that day, and that is just all throughout downstate New York. Almost every member of Congress can say the same thing about the large numbers of deaths in their districts and their friends, their neighbors who were murdered that day. And so it's really important as we go forward that September 11th never just be a day, never just be a holiday, never just be a day where maybe some people get off and some don't, or a day that used to go shopping. It should be a day where we find a way to remind ourselves of the sacrifice of that day, of the police officers and the firefighters and the EMTs and construction workers who actually ran into the burning towers and suffered just incalculable deaths, 343 firefighters, 60 police officers, number of EMTs, a number of construction workers, all of whom were killed rescuing people that day. And, Mr. Speaker, just as an historical note, this legislation initiated from an organization called My Good Deed. And this organization, one of the founders of it was Jay Winnick. His brother Glenn was a constituent of mine. Glenn was actually working in Lower Manhattan that day as a lawyer, but he was also a volunteer firefighter. And after he evacuated his own building, then he ran into the World Trade Center and was killed. And just this past week, he was finally awarded the 9/11 Medal of Valor. But the Winnick family, in honor of Glenn, really personified September 11th in that he was both a civilian and a firefighter who, in both capacities, performed so brilliantly that day that his family was the starter of this organization, which was the genesis of this legislation. Speaker, could I have additional time? Okay. Is there a time problem?
I yield additional 2 minutes.
Gentleman recognized for additional 2 minutes.
Also, for instance, tomorrow throughout my district, there will be various types of service being carried out. For instance, in my own office, we have a blood drive, which is run by my assistant, Patricia Gartland, who will have people lined up from morning till night giving blood in honor of those who were killed on September 11th. In my own school district, the Seaford School District, there will be a large commemoration, and the coordinator, Ken Haskell, who's a firefighter, who lost 2 brothers on September 11th, he is coordinating an effort where the students will show the good works that they did in honor of those who died on September 11th. So, Mr. Speaker, this is a day which, again, as tragic as it was, as horrible as it was, it's also a day from which tremendous good came from that. And so let's go forward. Let's adopt this legislation in the spirit of what happened on September 11th, both in memory of those who were murdered and in honor of those who gave their lives, and in honor of those who, in the days afterward, as Congressman Engel said, not just from New York, but from all over the country, came to Lower Manhattan, came to the World Trade Center, came to the Pentagon, went to Pennsylvania to try to do what they could to help those and to take part in a rescue operation, a recovery operation, and really showed the unity of the nation maybe as never before. So with that, again, I thank the chairman, I thank the ranking member, I certainly thank Congresswoman Matsui, and I urge the adoption of the resolution. I yield back the balance of my time.
Back his time. Gentlelady from Florida.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to yield 3 minutes to the gentleman from New York, Mr. King, the ranking member of the Committee on Homeland Security, who lost so many of his constituents that day on 9/11.
The gentleman is recognized for 3 minutes.
I thank the gentlelady for yielding, Mr. Speaker. I am proud to rise in support of this resolution today. And at the outset, let me commend the Majority Leader, Mr. Hoyer, and the Republican leader, Mr. Boehner, for introducing the resolution and showing the spirit of bipartisanship that is so essential. Mr. Speaker, September 11th is not just history. It's real. It is with us every day. As the ranking member, Ms. Royce-Leighton, said, I lost approximately 150 friends, neighbors, and constituents on September 11th, and that's true of almost every member of the downstate delegation from New York. In fact, I can't drive throughout my district without seeing sign after sign, street signs commemorating the police officers and firefighters who were killed on that day. So this was a real tragedy. It's a tragedy that continues today in those families and with their friends and with their neighbors. But it's also an ongoing threat against the United States of America. The attacks on September 11th did not end on September 11th. The fact is we have an enemy of Islamic terrorism, Al-Qaeda, which threatens us throughout the world and indeed here in our own country. In New York alone, there have been attacks foiled against the Brooklyn Bridge, Herald Square, against Fort Dix in New Jersey, in neighboring New Jersey, against the synagogues in Riverdale in the North Bronx. So these are issues, this is a threat which is ongoing and it's real. We always have to keep our defenses up. And we have to thank the men and women of our armed forces who are fighting throughout the world, the men and women of our intelligence agencies, the men and women of the state and local police departments in New York with the New York City Police Department, Nassau County Police Department, Suffolk County Police Department. There are more than 1,000 police officers dedicated to fighting terrorism in counterterrorism units. And again, it's a daily effort. As the ranking member of the Homeland Security Committee, I'm aware of many of the threats that we have stopped. And I realize again how the enemy is never going to stop, and we can't let our guard down. Also, in the interest of bipartisanship, I believe we should give President Bush credit for setting up the international level of cooperation with so many countries throughout the world, and also breaking down barriers with our own intelligence agencies and requiring them to share information with local police departments. It's not because of luck that we haven't been attacked in 8 years. On September 12, 2001, no one would have thought we'd go 8 years without being attacked the way we were on that horrible day of September 11th. And also in the interest of bipartisanship, it's important for us as Republicans, to stand with President Obama with his policy in Afghanistan, which is a continuation of the effort that we began against the Taliban and Al-Qaeda after the attacks of September 11th. This issue of international terrorism is too important to allow us to be divided by partisan politics. We came together as a nation on September 11th and the days after. It's important that we stay together. This, as President Kennedy said in 1961, is going to be a long twilight struggle. But we won that Cold War, and we're going to win this war. We are going to prevail if we stand together as one, stand together as a nation, and realize that our enemy is attempting to destroy us. But if we stand together as one with our allies and with our forces here in this country, we can never be defeated. With that, I yield back the balance of my time.
Gentleman yields back.